I just wrapped up a radio interview this morning, really excited about it. And there were two themes that I had an opportunity to broach with the listening audience that I really wanted to spend a little more time expounding upon. And the first thing being is, look, at the end of the day, success, especially in entrepreneurship, is an inside job, right? And what do I mean by that? There are going to be periods of time where you are not necessarily going to be alone, so to speak, because you're never really alone as an entrepreneur. I mean, if you're surrounding yourself with people who are leveling up, if you're surrounding yourself by other individuals who are intellectually curious and value the importance of partnership and networking, right? But nevertheless, there's still going to be times where you're going to be to yourself, right? Especially if you're going through a wilderness period, where perhaps you need to evaluate the relationships, habits, attitudes, or behaviors you've been exhibiting because you need to level up. Oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we get to a certain level where we're the ish in our environment, right? In our circles, we're doing it, we're crushing it. But then you realize as you begin to level up that you start from ground zero again, right? Because you learn there are other people who are a lot further along than you are, right? At every level, you go through that. You go through a period unconscious incompetence to become consciously incompetent, to become consciously competent, to becoming unconsciously competent, right? And every time you make a decision to level up, every time you make a decision to climb the ladder of success, you look to the left and the right. Number one, the same people aren't there. And so you have to make new friends, but you also begin to understand there's so much growth to be had. And so there are going to be periods where you're left ideating, spending time reflecting and thinking on things by yourself, right? It's just going to happen. And here's the thing, you better get right with yourself. You better like yourself. You need to be okay with yourself. You better learn how to get along with yourself and be here to accept who you are. That doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be a determinant of who you're going to become, but come to terms and forgive yourself and be okay with where you're at, right? And be willing to be honest with yourself and learn to appreciate what it is that you do bring to the table. I'd much rather be the person that appreciates, loves myself, appreciates myself, accepts who I am, and is willing to be honest about where I need to grow than to try to be acceptable and a friend to everyone, right? The bottom line is, you can be a friend to everyone all day long and be broken on your knuckles, right? Because you're trying to make people feel comfortable around you all the time. And where you are going, your agenda or your direction today is being determined by the likes, thoughts, and feelings of other people. It's just not a good recipe for success if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Oftentimes, what separates us from our competition is our willingness to commit, to do a deep dive, right? And when I say commit, I don't mean just commit temporarily. I mean, I define commitment as a willingness to follow through on the things that you said or you would do, or the things that you articulated you would do, whatever the case may be, even when the excitement, the enthusiasm, the fun of the moment is gone. And oftentimes people are only along for a season because the ride isn't fun anymore, right? They can't endure the pain. They don't want to endure the climb. For a lot of people, climbing the ladder of success breaks them. Physically, they can't do it. The air gets too thin. The expectations become too much, right? And so you look to the left and to the right, and there's different people there. And it's not that you're alone. You just have to make new friends, right? And that's something that I think is so absolutely important to reflect on. We talk about personal health, and we talk about self-discovery, and we talk about personal development. That's a huge piece of it, right? The other thing, I guess, that I thought that was very much interrelated is simply this. Look, when you are an entrepreneur, being positive, being resilient, staying in a progressive space is skill trade. It's not easy. Like the winds of misfortune, disappointment, sadness, hardship, untimely deaths, sickness, all these things that can occur happen to us all. The difference is you have those individuals who get punched in the face and they stay down for the count. You have other individuals who say, I'm going to get up one more time, right? And at the end of the day, it's just your willingness to endure pain and stay positive, stay enthusiastic, stay committed despite whatever hardships or trials and tribulations you may be going through. There's always going to be a wilderness period, and there's always going to be a period of plenty. You got to get through the wilderness period so to get through get to the period of plenty, right? You got to be willing to continue to plant the seeds, continue to build and prepare for the harvest. And if you're not doing the work, if you're not tilling the field, if you're not planting the seed, if you're not watering the garden, there'll never be a harvest, right? And that's usually those tough periods of time where the work becomes tenuous. And you have to be willing to stay committed to it. And so, look, it's skilled trade. Keeping a positive attitude and staying focused, right? Writing down affirmations, taking the time to reevaluate your vision statement periodically, taking the time to write down goals that align with your values and the things that matter most for you, taking time to get good at executing on goals, right? There's goal planning, but there's also another piece of the puzzle, is goal achieving. And all these things are skilled trade. And look, if you're not accustomed to this, if you haven't inculcated these habits, it's okay. It's no different than the person that starts working out for the first time after several months have gone by and their muscles have atrophied, right? We know the majority of people are afraid to get back in the gym. They're afraid to start running again or whatever, because there's going to be pain, right? You haven't done it in a while, or you haven't done it at all. And so you can expect there's going to be soreness. You can expect there are going to be periods where your body just doesn't perform as well, because the act of exercising is literally breaking down those muscles and allowing them time to heal so you can come back stronger, right? And that process isn't fun in the beginning, especially if you're out of shape, right? And so that's why we say it's skilled trade. You got to actually practice at it, right? You start by attempting to run that mile or jog that mile or walk that mile, depending on where you're at. And you're going to be sore. You're going to be fatigued. And you got to take a moment to kind of rest and reevaluate. And you go back and do it again. And you're going to be sore and you're going to be fatigued. Before you know it, you start to catch your wind better. Before you know it, it gets a little bit easier. And so you go from a mile to maybe a mile and a half. Or you go from a mile and a half to maybe 2 miles, whatever the case may be, right? You move at your pace, because everyone comes to this game called entrepreneurship at a different place. We all have different academic backgrounds. We all have different life experiences. We all have different professional experiences. We all have different mindsets, habits that have either worked against us or served us that we need to kind of evaluate and inspect, right? We all come to a different place, but the bottom line is it's about improvement. It's about getting better every single day. Don't chase the money all the time. Be aware of the money, be aware whether or not you're profitable, but also be acutely aware as to whether or not you are exercising and working on your potential, whether or not you are pushing yourself to the extent that you possibly can, right? Strengthening yourself, getting better, breaking down those muscles, right? And being willing to allow a period of recovery and endure that pain. And before you know it, you go from 1 mile to 2 miles, from 2 miles to 3 miles, from 3 miles to 5. Then you're enrolling in half marathons, and then maybe you're working your way up to a marathon. That's just the way it works. And as you build those muscles, you become stronger, you become more resilient, you become more able to endure hardship, pains, and just different things that happen. But also the feeling of once you reach a point where you're in shape and you can go out there and achieve and excel, and you go out there, perform, to execute, it's a great feeling, right? We all tend to enjoy and take satisfaction in. We all tend to find edification in things that we become good at. But sometimes it's a process to getting good at certain things. You got to be willing to go through it, right? And so those are the 2 thoughts I really wanted to share this morning before I jump into the second half of my day. And, I hope it serves everyone well. I wish it was something I could have elaborated a little bit more on a radio show, but maybe we'll get around to it next Monday. In the meantime, everyone have a fantastic day. I celebrate success in advance. Goodbye for now. Up on third.